My heart is very heavy for the younger generation. I see so many that are angry and even filled with rage. So many living in anguish, confusion, and fear. Our children and young adults are being fed lies by just about every institution in our nation. And there are some wolves out there, hungry for their hearts, their minds, blood, and soul of our young people. And should I add their bodies as well? As the sexualization and exploitation of children and young adults have become sickeningly normalized. I hate what our culture has done to our young people. We've allowed them to be brainwashed with lies, including the lie that the best way they can hope for in this life is to indulge in their carnal, hedonistic desires with an attitude of entitlement. No limits, no rules, no right, no wrong. Everything is relative and everyone gets a trophy simply for existing. Lie. I'm hoping to reach some of the young people out there with this message. Those who are feeling lost, disconnected, without purpose, and angry. I'm under no delusion that the kids and young adults I want to reach will be listening to this message on a Christian radio station. I know that. But young people, my hope is that someone who loves you will and will take this time to share this information with you. You see, they love you. They care deeply for your life and your soul. And they know that something has gone terribly wrong in this world. And you have become the victim of it. You've been lied to, tricked, trapped, and you need to know the truth that will set you free. Most likely, you won't listen to those who love you. You don't care what they have to say. You think they don't know you, and they don't understand you, or modern life, or what you deal with, struggle with, and go through on a daily basis. They may have done their best, but failed. Or maybe they haven't even tried to maintain a close personal relationship with you. So how dare they try to suddenly insert themselves into your private affairs and fix you? You don't think you need fixing. And you certainly don't want to discuss personal things with them, especially if they're going to challenge or question everything you believe. For some reason, you're not quite sure of. You're angry, very angry. But if you won't listen to them, maybe you'll listen to a stranger. Just give me a chance and hear me out. That's all I ask. Allow me to ask a couple of questions. First, if what you thought you knew about life and the world turned out to be wrong, when would you want to know? Think about that. If what you thought you knew was wrong, when would you want to know? Secondly, whether you're 27, 17, or 10 years old, I assume you know someone younger than yourself, perhaps a younger brother, sister, or cousin. If you're 27, let me ask you this. Do you think you're just a little smarter, a little more educated and enlightened than you were when you were 17? And if you're 17, do you think you know a little bit more about life than you did when you were 10? And if you're 10, do you think you've been around a little longer and learned a few things than your 2-year-old babysitter? I'm asking you to give me a chance here and try to hear what I'm about to share with you. Because I'm quite a bit older than all of you. And if you're so much wiser than your counterparts who are 8 or 10 years younger than you, consider for a moment that I just may have learned a few things since I was 10, 17, or 27. Things that you're not aware of yet. You can write me off as a crackpot, nut job, whatever, if you like. But I just ask that you hear me out before you plug your ears or shout me down. Young people want their voices heard. We all want our voices heard. Will you give me the same consideration that you value so highly for yourself? The same consideration that you say all people should receive? Or will you be a hypocrite? Young people are very idealistic, and that's a good thing. They want to make the world a better place. They want to do away with injustice. They want to right the things that are wrong. They want to live in a world where the underdog gets a shot at its success, where the bullies are punished, where the good guys win and the bad guys get what's coming to them. But don't we all want that? Of course we do. It makes no difference how old you are. Everyone wants justice, equality, and fairness. But as I watch the world around me today, it sickens me by what I'm seeing. I'm seeing young people being exploited and blatantly lied to and brainwashed into useful idiots, eagerly doing the bidding of those pulling the strings in a sinister, wicked, evil agenda. And my generation has largely stood by silently and let it all happen. For the most part, we've said nothing as things have deteriorated in our culture. In some cases, we even participated in a deterioration. Shame on us, United States. First of all, young people, understand this. There are sinister, evil, wicked forces out there, and you are the most valued target. The mask they wear gives the impression that they are working for good, but nothing could be further from the truth because they're straight from the pits of hell, and they're working hard to brainwash you. Yes, you have been lied to by almost every institution there is. Where at? Place in America and in the world now, where everything has become vulgar, perverse, twisted. Walk the hallways of any public school between classes, and you hear the most foul, vulgar language coming from the mouths of babes who think they're more grown up because they can swear. Just like their music idols, their rappers. The majority of what passes from pop music today is an abomination, and it is filled with sexist, racist, degrading lyrics. And while young people claim to be against such awful things, they have no problem dancing and singing along to the pounding beat of their favorite rapper, while he or she spews out vulgarity and everything they claim to be against. That's the brainwashing, folks. It's no wonder so many today can't speak a single sentence without dropping 15 F-bombs. In our place of so-called higher learning, civil discourse is no longer allowed. If you don't hold to a leftist liberal agenda, you're shut it down, chased out. Your voice is not welcome. A few years ago, they came out with a thing called microaggression on high school and college campuses. These are crimes students might commit by inadvertently saying or doing something that could possibly be construed as sexist, racist, or somehow otherwise offensive. Example of microaggression could be holding the door for a young lady, because that would be considered misogynistic and sexist. Or a white person having the nerve to point out that it's content of one's character that matters, not the color of one's skin, because that would be considered racist. Conservative speakers are not allowed on college campuses anymore. They're literally run out of town. Some have even been physically beaten up. So much for freedom of speech, diversity of opinion, and civil debate. That's brainwashing. There's been a spiritual war, a spiritual battle, raging since the beginning of time. The forces of good and the forces of evil, the forces of light versus the forces of darkness, God versus Satan. As a created being, Satan has no power except that which God, our Creator, allows him to have. But for a time, he has been granted power over the earth, and he and his minions, including demons and the people who have rejected God, rebelled against God, and despised God, are working hard to lie, steal, kill, confuse, and ultimately destroy our young people. Young people are the greatest prize because they're the future. Brainwash a person from the earliest of childhood, and they'll become a useful idiot and willing slave to the demonic agenda for this life. Thus, we have the push now for what they call sexual freedom. But it's not freedom. It's a perversion, an abomination, and absolutely unnatural. The LGBTQP agenda has wormed its way into the schools, colleges, Hollywood movies, pop music, sports, government, and even churches. Under the guise of equality and using phrases like love is love and love wins, they've managed to brainwash perfectly healthy minds into believing abominable lies. Homosexuality, or more properly stated, sodomy, is not normal. It's absolutely unnatural. And it has nothing to do with genuine love. Yet, it's not only accepted, but taught now in our schools and even celebrated in some of our churches. How did we arrive at this point? By renaming it, by reframing it so it sounds better. No longer do we call it sodomy, no, we call it gay. But let's shine the light of truth on what we really talking about here. We're not talking about Bobby and Timmy living together and identifying in whatever sexual role they freely choose. We're talking about a man inserting his sexual organ into the rectum of another man. Sorry to be so blunt, but that's what sodomy is. And it's time we called it what it is. Today, our young people are encouraged to experiment as groups like Planned Parenthood have overtaken the sex education classes in our public school. So sodomy and now transgenderism is actually being pushed on our young people. Do you wonder why so many now are coming out as gay or trans? It's the brainwashing. It's the lies they've been taught to not only accept, but to consider and try out for themselves. It's wicked. Equally wicked in the fact that there are those now pushing for legalization, acceptance, and celebration of pedophilia. We're talking about child abuse, child rape, child sex trafficking. And they're no longer even trying to hide that even anymore. And the young people are once again the victims. As they seek to emulate their pop music idol, rapper, singing and dancing along to filthy songs that reduce a beautiful, sacred relationship between a husband and wife to nothing more than a hedonistic, animalistic act. That's the culture our young people are growing up in. And when a baby is conceived, they've been taught to be proud to have an abortion. Shout your abortion, they say. More lies, more brainwashing. Those wielding this agenda hide the fact that an abortion is actually the beheading and dismemberment of a real live human baby. Instead, they reframe it. It sounds so good. If such a thing were possible, they call it woman's health care and female empowerment. Let's call it what it is. It's murder. The devil is real, folks. Now we're seeing our young people being used as pawns by groups like Antifa and Black Lives Matter. Again, more lies. After years of indoctrination by government schools and colleges with history rewritten and truth erased, we now have young people growing up hating their own country and their own heritage. We now have white kids who are so confused and upset they hate themselves just because they're white. And so they do what they've been trained to do. They rage. So now we have young people rioting in the streets, burning down their own cities, tearing down historical monuments and statues, celebrating our history and those who fought for their freedom. Antifa is supposed to stand for anti-fascist, but if you take even a moment to think critically and investigate, you'll see there is no more fascist group in the world than Antifa. Black Lives Matter is supposed to support black people. But again, if you do even a minimal amount of research into their true goals and agenda, you'll find it's just more lies and brainwashing. Can you name one thing that BLM has done to positively impact black communities? I'll wait. But you see, you can't. Because like their father, the devil, all they plan to do is kill, steal, and destroy. The goal of both of these groups is the same: to destroy America, turn it into a socialist, communist nation. But the lies and brainwashing are so heavy on our young people, they think that's a good thing. Homie, Antifa is not anti-fascist. They want complete control, totalitarian rule. So if you're a young person and one of their minions, know this: you're not fighting for freedom. You're fighting for your own enslavement. The same is true of BLM. If Black Lives Matter, and of course they do, then all black lives should matter, especially the most innocent and vulnerable among them, unborn babies. But you know, all lives do truly matter. You may not realize it, but you've been trained to hate. Instead of being inclusive or diverse, like they told you to be, you become filled with rage. And the most intolerant of all. Instead of bringing about justice and righteousness, you become bigoted, racist bullies. You won't tolerate hearing the truth. You won't tolerate anything that goes against what they've trained you to think. Wake up! Young people, if you want freedom, if you want justice, if you want good rather than evil in this world, you got to do away with the brainwashing and challenge yourself to study and learn on your own. In order to be successful, you have to force yourself to learn the things you don't want to learn, the things that go against all that you've been taught by your teachers, pop culture, and by simply living in this fallen world full of lies. Finally, know this: there is a God who created you. He created you with value and purpose, and you're living at this exact point in time for that purpose. You can either go along with the crowd, or you can be counterculture. You can either be like everyone else your age, or you can stand out from the crowd and be one of God's heroes in this end-time spiritual battle and save not just lives, but souls currently bound for hell. No interest in God? That's the saddest thing I've heard yet. I wouldn't have thought that you would give up so easily and let the enemy of your soul just take you. You're smarter than that. think for yourself instead of following the lies you've been taught. Never open the Bible? Do it. If you truly seek God, He will reveal Himself to you. Check it. Just check it out and see if I'm right or wrong. And let me ask you again. If what you thought you knew turned out to be wrong, when would you want to know?